Wealthy Optimist Podcast with your host, Sarah Hall. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Sarah Hall, the Wealthy Optimist, and today we're going to be talking about motivation and a lack thereof and how we can get it back. If you've noticed over the pandemic, it's been ongoing now for a few years. You can even see through my own inconsistent patterns of podcast posting that I've been struggling a lot with motivation myself. And you'll have noticed, I'm sure, that you feel it in your own sense of self. Maybe you're unmotivated to work or unmotivated to work on your own projects. Maybe you're finding yourself unmotivated to go out with friends, to meet up with family, to go to the gym, unmotivated to do the things that you used to love. And the problem with this is that it becomes a vicious cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle because motivation isn't something that strikes us and then we have the energy to go and do the things we need to do. Motivation is something that is built up through habitual actions. And a lot of people get that confused. And so the more that we have done less throughout the pandemic, the less motivated we have trained ourselves to become. And that is why you will find yourself sitting and staring at your screen, wondering, why can't I get myself to finish this book that I've been writing? Why can't I get myself to forget writing the book? Why can't I get myself to write a paragraph? Why can't I love going to the gym. I know going to the gym makes me feel great. Why can't I make myself go there? And you'll find yourself maybe on Monday or Sunday night, Monday morning, getting all reared up for the week ahead and planning out your goals and saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and this and this and this week. And I'm going to make sure I go to the gym 3 times. And I'm going to, write 2,000 words for my book a day. And I'm going to, excel at my job. And I'm going to make sure I go and have 2 dinner dates with friends. And, you might set all these goals for yourself. And then as the time comes for those dates that you've scheduled for yourself to actually do, you will feel like this overwhelming sense of unmotivation, that you don't want to do it, that you can't do it, that you don't feel focused, that you don't feel driven. And it can be very frustrating to wonder, how do I get out of that? And I'm going to tell you how. You have got to start by, first of all, stop being so hard on yourself. The number one thing that people have been doing over the pandemic is beating themselves up because they don't feel like they are doing enough. And although you may not be doing what you used to be doing, you've also just survived a worldwide global pandemic. So give yourself some credit that you are still here, that for the most part, your mental health is intact. I know I've struggled myself, and many clients I've worked with have had some moments where we've been thinking like, this is it. But yet we're all still here, So if you're listening to this, give yourself some credit. You're here. You've sought out a podcast about motivation and about how to get motivated again. So don't be hard on yourself and thinking, why haven't I done this yet? Why am I not where I need to be yet? Because that is the worst possible thing that you can do for yourself. And in order to get motivated, you actually have to start doing the things that you want to do. That's the only way. That's the catch. So your brain works in a cycle. So we have a cycle of reward system within our brains, all right? So you do something and you get a hit of dopamine from doing it, right? Something that you love, or feeling some sense of achievement or pride in something that you do. And then it goes into another cycle where you're seeking out that reward system, right? So you want the dopamine, you get the hit of dopamine, and now you're looking for the next hit of dopamine, right? Now, when you are constantly day in and day out doing things that you're not passionate about, that you're not making time for your hobbies, or actually scratch that, not that you're not making time for your hobbies. We have right now more time than ever on our hands, but we are less motivated than ever. And that is due to the pandemic. And it is due to us not forcing ourselves to do the things that are going to give us that hit of dopamine, that sense of pride. And nothing bad on anybody who's listening to this. I've been stuck in it myself, and you can take a look at like my YouTube channel and my podcast, and I've got 2 different books I wrote out the entire script for, from front to finish. Haven't written a word on either of the books. I know the entire story though. Each chapter's outlined. I've outlined the entire book, both books, and haven't written a scratch on them. My YouTube has been inconsistent in posting, even though, and I'm mentioning these things to you so that you can find the things for yourself that you can compare this to. Because for myself, my passions are writing. I love working with clients in any way possible. So whether that be they're reading my book, they're reading my blog, they're listening to a podcast, or watching a video of mine on YouTube, that's all me connecting and with other people. And so those passions of mine have been put on a sideline, and not for lack of trying, but for lack of drive, for lack of me feeling and being able to do the things that make me happy. And so think about what it is that are the things that you love, and get out a piece of paper, write down some of the top things that you really love, right? And so for myself, like I said, you'll notice my YouTube channel will have spurts where, I'll edit like 6 videos, and and you should see me in that state too when I'm at home and I edit that first video after 6 months of not editing any, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. This is so much fun. I love doing this, and it gives me so much joy, and it sparks joy, and I'm like, an aha moment, right? And then I will edit 5 more videos, and then I will post them, and then I will go into my unmotivated slump again. And for a long time I was thinking, like, is this depression? Like, what is this? And it's not. It is just that I work also a full-time job, and that takes all my energy throughout the day. And so making sure that I have that motivation to work on the things that I love after the fact that I'm finished work is something that I really, really, really struggled with during the pandemic. And I'm sure many of you can say the same. And you'll see it with my podcast as well too. I mean, I made the first episode for my podcast 3 years ago. Longer than that, 3.5 years ago. 3.5 years ago, I made the very first episode of my podcast. I was still living, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's 4 years ago now. I have lost all sense of time. I've lost all sense of time. I don't know what year it is. The pandemic has stolen my memories. Who can relate? Yeah, it was 4 years ago. I was still in Vancouver, and I had just gotten back from Cambodia, and I was gearing up to go on my solo traveling trip, where I went solo traveling for 5 months, and had the time of my life. It was amazing. And I was gearing up to that, and I started a podcast. And so I recorded that first episode 4 years ago. And then I didn't record another episode for about a year. And then I recorded several episodes. And then I didn't record any more episodes for about another year. And January of 2021, which is a year ago now, over a year ago, I recorded a couple episodes, and I was all excited, talking about the New Year transitions, and I was on it. I was like, this is the year I'm launching this podcast. It's going to be great. Even though I'd launched it 4 years ago, it just never actually launched because of my own fault. And then you can see it tapered out. I did a few episodes, and then I just couldn't make myself consistently motivated to do it. And now, fast forward another year, I have been working on myself in such a major way that it's so important to me now to focus on consistency and creating those habits to make myself motivated. And I have learned about my brain and how it works, and that is why I'm teaching you this today. Because if you've been struggling and you can see those patterns within yourself, like I was struggling for the past 3 years, to get projects off the ground or to make time, even though we have so much time on our hands, but to actually sit down and make the time to make yourself motivated to do the things that are going to perhaps make you happier in life. Because I'm going to be very honest with you, nobody is genuinely happy in their life when they're just waking up, going to work, working all day, coming home and sitting on the couch and then watching Netflix and then going to sleep and then lying in bed, worrying about the next day and questioning everything in their existence, and then sleeping and then waking up, going to work, working all day, coming home from work, watching Netflix, going to sleep, and having an existential crisis again. Nobody is genuinely happy in their life when they are doing that. It is not a healthy cycle, and it's not good for your mental health. The things that make you motivated and consistently happy are the things that are going to bring you joy. And so in order to motivate yourself, you need to get started. You need to have that list. So what did you put on your list? What is something that you love? Is it golfing? Do you absolutely love golfing? Is it swimming? Did you always want to learn how to dance in some kind of, tango class? Did you want to, become a professional boxer? Whatever it is that your goals are. Did you want to learn taekwondo? You want to get a black belt in karate? I have clients who come to me and they say, I'm in my 40s now. I've always wanted to get a black belt and it's just not attainable. And I sit with them and I literally Googled myself to see, how long does it take to get a black belt? Okay, well, you can get one belt every 3 months for the first couple of belts. And then you can get basically one every year for the next couple of belts. So in, 7 years, he could have a black belt in any martial art. Timelines vary, so don't quote me exactly on that. But, and then he started doing it. And you know what? He got I think it was the blue belt first, and then he got his brown belt, whatever the first two are. I don't remember, because this was a few years ago. And the motivation that he had once he actually started going to those classes, and he worked full time. He worked 65-hour work weeks. Like, he was also giving me all these excuses like, I don't have time for it. I wish I had time for it. Yeah, I can see what you mean. The time's going to go by anyways. And, in 5 to 7 years from now, I'll still be here. I'll just won't have my black belt, but it was an experience that he'd always wanted. So, I encouraged him to go for it, and he ended up finding the time for it. And he would go very early to a very early class one day before work every week. And he would go to a Saturday class on the weekend. And that was his one day off. And when you're working that much and you find time to do it, he got into the rhythm. And at first he told me it was very hard, because making himself get up super early on a day when he knew he had to work long days, because he worked in the restaurant industry, and that can sometimes be 12-hour days, well into 2, 3 in the morning. So getting up super early and going to a class, then working those long shifts, and then sacrificing, which is what it sounds like, your only day off to go to a class, can also feel like really difficult. But a few weeks after doing it, and he's getting the training, and then in another 2 months, guess what he gets? His first belt, his first level of achievement. And that sense of pride that he had on our call after that was absolutely life-changing for him, because it showed him that he had, first of all, the consistency. He did have the time, and he became more motivated than ever to achieve those levels faster. And what he did then with that motivation, because he's getting that dopamine hit, right? So he goes to the class, first it's kind of hard, but he keeps going consistently twice a week. And then he does that for a few months, gets his first belt, right? Now he's feeling super motivated. He's talked to his instructor. He learns that, hey, if I go an extra day a week, I can get my next level faster. So what does he do? He carves out the time in his busy schedule to make time for something that he loves, that he gets energy from, that he enjoys, that he feels a sense of pride from, and something that makes him grow as a person and connect with other people, because now he's part of a team. There's a whole class of people who are working on their goals to get their black belt with him, so he's part of that community. So it's an entire sense of belonging that he now has in his life, which not only makes him happier on that aspect, but it makes him a better employee. It makes him more driven in his work. It makes him a happier and prouder father and husband because he has drive. He's doing stuff for himself. Now he is able to have more energy because he's become much more fit physically and mentally stronger. So he has that energy to be able to go and do more things with his kids on a regular basis. He's carving out more time for his family out of his work schedule. And who knows where he'll be, 5 years from now. Maybe he'll have loved it so much that he'll have retired from working in the restaurant industry and he'll have opened up his own taekwondo school. Who knows where something that you're passionate about could take you if you actually apply yourself and take the time to make yourself motivated to do it. And I also get a lot of people coming up to me and telling me in our conversations that they think it's too late. They're like, oh, it's too late. I can't do that. Even like I myself struggle with this. I used to struggle with this more, obviously, before I learned that it's never too late. I used to put so much societal pressure on myself to, especially with acting. Acting was one of the things. So acting is something I love, but acting I put a lot of mental stress on myself about because I used to look at these actors who were in TV series or in movies and they were very young and, they're in their, they're 17, 18, 20, 23 years old, 25 years old and they've made it. Like by 25 years old, they're millionaires, they're well-known household names. And, when I was in my early 20s, I was thinking, oh my God, like I'm so far behind. I'll never make it because now, I'm getting older. Oh my God, nobody's going to want me. Like I'll never land those roles, and I put all this societal pressure on myself. And when you do that and you say, it's too late, you're only hurting yourself. And it is never, ever, ever too late. And 2 examples I want to use for you here to show you about how it's never too late is one, Samuel Jackson, who became famous and a household name, at least across America, in Canada. And I'm sure people, I'm in the UK right now, so in London, I'm sure they all know who Samuel Jackson is. But he became famous in his 50s. In his 50s, okay? And he's Samuel Jackson. Come on, right? So that's one example, all right? My other example is my favorite. One of my go-to examples is J.K. Rowling. Now, J.K. Rowling, she is just a phenomenon. I mean, first of all, she's the only author in the history of the universe, as far as I'm concerned, it's universal, to ever have earned $1 billion off of her writing career. $1 billion! She's a billionaire. She's the only author who is a billionaire. And every other author ain't even cutting it close to $1 billion. Let me tell you that right now. You can go Google it. It's not a close run-in. Like, they are way not near a billionaire. She's had theme parks made up around the world of Harry Potter, and it's a phenomenon. And I was raised on those books. Like, I remember being 11 and reading about Harry Potter going to his school of witchcraft and wizardry and being like, oh my God, I'm 11. Like, this is my life. Like, this should be me. And I was really, really, really bullied in middle school because I genuinely thought and still think I was a witch and that I had special powers, and I was just, people would call me like a huge dork or a nerd or whatever, but look at how it's translated now into my life, where I write books about the law of attraction, and I've attracted and manifested so much into my life. And if somebody tell me that's not magic, because it certainly is. That is magic, and you're capable of magic. But I digress. J.K. Rowling wrote those books when she was in her 40s, okay? And she was on welfare. She was getting food stamps. She was suicidal. She was severely depressed. She had recently been through a horrific divorce. Things were going really bad for her. She was thinking like, I don't even know if I can get through another day, let alone raise my children, and she was sitting on a train and she came up with the idea for this book, this character called Harry Potter. And she took that and she wrote these books, these amazing books. Thank you for writing them. It's inspired a generation of creativity, and definitely was some of the first books I ever wrote. I wrote fan fiction books of Harry Potter, and now I'm an author a couple times over published. And so it was a huge inspiration to me. But she took those books, and she took the very first book that she wrote, and The Philosopher's Stone, and she sent it to publishing companies. And she was so motivated because she felt like this was really something that she had here, really something magical. And she sent it to publishing companies with that motivation, with that drive, kept doing it. She kept writing it. She kept getting up every day. She kept making herself do it. And she enjoyed doing it. So when you make yourself do something that you're getting enjoyment from, you're going to keep doing it more often, right? So she finished the book, and then she took that book and she sent it to publishing companies, and 11 publishing companies shot her down. 11 publishing companies told her, this is going nowhere. We don't want this. It's not going to be a big seller. We're not interested in this. Good luck getting it published, like variations of that. Okay. And then somebody at Bloomsbury was like, oh, we'll publish this. And whoever that was hit the lottery. I hope they got a raise at the very least, or their wall on a plaque of the Hall of Fame for finding this amazing author and this series. And they published it, and look what it turned into. It turned into, 27 years later since it's been published, a worldwide phenomenon. Movies that created several multi-millionaire famous actors and actresses who were the characters on those shows. It just an absolute worldwide phenomenon, all developed from self-made motivation of getting through the tough times and saying to herself, you know what? I'm going to make myself do this. I'm going to get up every day. I'm going to make myself write this book because I want to, because I'm passionate about it, because it's making me happy the more I do it, and because I feel like it is going to be something big. And I guarantee you she had no idea how big it was going to be. But you have no idea how big your great idea is going to be. You could be the next J.K. Rowling. You could be the next Samuel Jackson. There is so much opportunity out there in the world for creative people. And even if you're not a creative person, it doesn't matter. Like whatever it is that your career is, if you want to be a multi-millionaire Bitcoin seller, I don't know anything about cryptocurrencies, so don't ask me, but whatever it is that you want to do, there is so much opportunity for it in this world that you can do it. I'm sorry for that beeping sound. I don't know where it's coming from on my Mac, and I cannot make it stop. If anybody knows me, just shoot me an email because it's driving me mad. But there's so much opportunity out there, and you will be able to transform your life. You just got to take the first step. You got to take the first couple of steps. And there's a reason why they say that building a habit takes 21 days of doing it consistently. And it's because we're rewiring the structure of our brain to get that dopamine from that new source, that new habit. And I'm not saying in this podcast that everybody listening here, this is how you're going to get rich. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and you're going to go work out for an hour, and then you're going to sit down and you're going to work all day for 12 hours and you're going to build your dreams that way and and then you're going to sleep for 4 hours and do it all over again. Like, no. That is the way to a mental nervous breakdown, and it is off. Honestly, I like to call it toxic positivity. It's pushed a lot it used to be pushed more often, but during the pandemic, it's kind of teetered off that's actually not the way that entrepreneurs need to build their lives. But what you are going to do is you're going to carve out some time. You're going to look at your calendar for the next month. Right now, we're at the beginning of a brand new month. It's March 1st right now. Tomorrow's my dad's birthday. Happy 65th birthday, Dad, who probably will never hear this, but everybody say happy birthday to my dad. His name is William. He's amazing, and I love him to pieces. But it's March 1st, and on March 1st in my family, we have a saying, we go, white rabbits, white rabbits, white rabbits. And that means that you're going to have luck for the rest of the month. So go ahead and say that right now, white rabbits, white rabbits, white rabbits. And then after that, and after you're done listening to this podcast, pull out your calendar and have a look at it. And have a look at where you can block out time that is focus time for yourself, not for work, not during work hours, not during family time, not waking up earlier than you need to, because that's honestly going to make you miserable. I've been there. I've tried it. I've, read all the books about getting up at 5 a.m. and all this. It's not for everybody. Trust me. And there are better ways around it, Find that time. You'll find it naturally in your schedule, and make a commitment to yourself. Make a commitment to yourself that you are going to get yourself motivated, and stop waiting for motivation to come. Mel Robbins said it, and I love it, and I'll say it on here. Nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And that is so true. So you'll find the time, you'll make the time, and as you carve out that time and you sit down and you do the do, you're going to get motivated and you're going to start to feel inspired. Now, the key is to keep going, keep pushing through that, keep pushing onwards. Don't stop like I did last January when I got all motivated, and then I recorded a bunch of podcasts, and then I was like, okay, I'm depressed again. And then I sunk into pandemic depression for 8 months. And, all right, I needed a mental health break, but just if I had been consistent, who knows where I would have been that time last year instead of another year going by. So you're going to make a promise to yourself to stay consistent. So don't overdo it. This is another thing that I have to tell clients on a regular basis, because people think, oh, okay, well, I got to carve out 2 hours a day. So I'm always doing it. And then if I have 2 hours a day, that's going to be, if I do it 5 days a week, that's 10 hours a week that I'm going to be, working on it. And it's going to be at this time exactly, from 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. And that's going to be my focus time, and I'm going to work on it then. And then I'm already stressed for you. It's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You're going to have other things pop up. You're going to have meetings pop up. Your kids are going to need something. Your husband's going to need something. Your wife's going to need something. Your parents are going to need something. You're going to have to go to the dentist. You're going to have to go grocery shopping. Just start slowly. Okay. Find twice a week. Twice a week, just like my client that I told you about who wanted to get his black belt, carved out twice a week. His classes were an hour and a half. That's something that he had booked in because it was a class he was going to. And if yours isn't a class that you're going to be going to and you can't book it in that way, then that's what your calendar's for. You're going to book in an hour and a half or an hour, if an hour and a half is too much, twice a week, where that is just you turn off your cell phone, you lock yourself in a closet at your house, you tell your family to leave you the F alone, and you work on something that is going to change your life. And that is how your motivation is going to get started. It's not going to happen over the first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or month. It's going to happen after a month or 2 or 3 of consistently every single week going and locking yourself in that closet or going to the cafe or wherever it is that you're going to do this focus time. Doing it. That's where the motivation is going to come. And that's where the inspiration is going to kick in. And you're going to see it. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it, and you're going to feel better for it. And I want you to tell me when you feel better for it. Send me an email. As always, it's thewealthyoptimist@gmail.com. My email link is always in the description. If you found this helpful, please share it with somebody else, because Lord knows so many people need motivation right now. And we've been through a whirlwind, and my heart is also with Ukraine right now. I stand with Ukraine. I am praying for them on a regular basis and sending them so much love. Their president is truly a man of honor, staying with the city. And it's March 1st right now, so we're as up to date as we possibly can be on what's going on with the war. So definitely sending out my heart to them. There are many ways that you can help raise funding for them. Ukraine SOS is one of them. I will add the link in my description box below for this. But if you are looking for a way to get some life coaching and to get through the hump, maybe you need more planning than this. Maybe you are somebody that has been just spiraling down the rabbit hole to the point that you're watching Netflix series after Netflix series week after week, just barely having the energy to do your day job, and then just barely having energy to even make food. Maybe you're so unmotivated that you think that you've got the deepest, darkest depression right now, and your anxiety's all over the place and you're feeling like a total failure. I've been there, and so many of my clients have been there. And I can help you to make a plan to get out of it. There's a lot of great exercises. There are a lot of great ways that we can restructure thinking through CBT, through cognitive behavioral therapy, that'll help you get out of your mind and get into your body and get moving. And sometimes just getting started is the hardest point. So if you just want to have a one-off chat and figure out how you can just get started, we can totally do that. Or I'm also taking on clients right now to do 8 series sessions. So an 8 series is normally a really good chunk of time where you will see incredible results, because guess what? It's consistent. It's consistency. And perhaps you getting motivated can be you talking to a motivator for 8 series of sessions. All right. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode today, and I will speak with you all real soon. Send me an email again if you found this helpful, and if you actually stick to something consistent. I would love to hear from some of you in a few months, letting me know, like, hey, I did it. I am now have my blue belt. I've got my first notch on my belt because I actually went to the class twice a week, like you said. And guess what? I feel freaking amazing now. So thank you. I hope that I can hear from some of you, because I know you've got it in you. I know you've got it in you, and I know you can do it. So get out there and go do it. The only person that's holding yourself back is yourself. And like Mel Robbins said, nobody's coming to save you. So let's get out there and let's save ourselves. All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and get motivated. Bye. Thank you for watching the Wealthy Optimist podcast. Be sure you always catch the next episode by subscribing today. We have new episodes weekly, and we're always welcoming new guests on the show. If you or someone you know would love to be a guest on our show, feel free to email us at thewealthyoptimist@gmail.com, and somebody from our team will be in touch. We'll see you on the next show. Until then, stay wealthy and stay optimistic.